Hi,
Hey, how you doing, Ellie?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Well, I'm really excited to be here with you today and just to talk a little bit about parent coaching and holding space and how we really got here. Um, so, first off, for anyone who doesn't know, parent coaching is a really beautiful form of support where you actually get to learn all about all kinds of topics like nervous system, brain science, child development, emotional intelligence, how to set boundaries, how to communicate really clearly. And as you're learning all those topics, you're also getting to work with a coach who can really give you individualized support that's tailored to you, your family, and whatever unique experiences are happening with you, and really like what your family values are. Um, and then just as you go through that process, you really get to build and build each week on what you're doing and see this beautiful transformation. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would just say, what will you say to somebody that comes back? As I hear this a lot. I just don't want somebody to tell me how to parent my kid. Like, what are going to be the rules and how I have to do this? What do you think is like one of those misconceptions that people have about parenting coaching?
Yeah, I definitely think there's so much, especially on social media and online, where you see like, oh, it's just one, two, three, quick fix. Like just follow these steps, and you'll never have tantrums again. And really, those things just don't work. You can't apply them to every single child or every single family. It just doesn't make sense because we're all coming from different places. And so, parent coaching is really about making it unique to your family. And it's really not your coach trying to tell you, well, here's what you should do in this situation, here's what you do in this situation. It's really giving you the information and then helping you integrate that information with your personal family values and really helping you uncover and really discover like what feels right for you as a parent so that when you're finished working with your coach, you then have the confidence and the know-how to be like, I know how to make these parenting decisions, whether my kid is 5, whether they're 10, whether they're 15. I feel like I know what to do and I don't need a coach anymore because I have it all within me.
I love that. Yes, because parenting coaching to me is less about us knowing, having the answer, the coach having the answer and telling you what to do. And it's more about helping you find the answer within you. So I love it. You said it so beautifully. We all know as parents, we know what we want to leave our kids with. We know in our soul what is it that we want that relationship to look like in the future, and also, we are the ones that hold the knowledge really who our kid is, what works for them, what is it that make them smile, what is it that affects them more, they're more sensitive with. Like, nobody knows your kid as you do. And I love the fact that when we come in and work with a parent, it's not about, I know better than you. Is, hey, let's look at this situation from the outside and let's see how we can help you see this from a different perspective, and you can work in those real values that you want to live for your kid in a way that they're going to understand. So I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, well, I'm really curious, like, what led you to parent coaching in the first place?
Yeah, well, my story is, I started for my daughter, which is the funny part because I feel like right now I'm in a different place. But it all started with my daughter. She was turning, into a teenager. We had a lot of power struggles in that sense of her trying to assert her independence and me trying to assert my authority, as a parent, and that always causes those clashes. And I have a younger son, and as I was raising him, I was reading more, getting more into this, conscious parenting behavior. But when it came to her, I will react completely different. I will be able to like focus and have patience, and also the concept that we're gonna be talking about today, holding space for my son. But I wasn't able to show up for my daughter the same way, to the point where
Mm,
one day she asked me like, why do you have patience for everybody else but me? Why do you react this way with, and she mentioned her brother, and not with me? And that really shook me, because it's true. When I was with her, and I noticed, and this is something that I learned later on, that when I was dealing with her, I was going back to my like factory settings, that
Mm,
all of those parenting tools that were passed to me, generational patterns that I was repeating with her. And since that's what we knew in our relationship for, 13, 14 years, it was going to take a lot more of me having the knowledge to actually apply it with her. And that's where, this certification came in, and it came out even better than I expected for our relationship, for the relationship that I have with myself now, and even with, everybody around me.
yeah. Wow, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that isn't necessarily easy to really share that vulnerable moment that you had with your daughter. But to see just how you've grown through that and you've been able to turn things around and show up the way you want to. And that really is the essence of just the work of parent coaching.
Yes, definitely. I couldn't agree more.
So I actually came to parent coaching from a really different perspective.
Mhm.
I don't have my own children yet, and I hope to in the relatively near future. But I'm actually a preschool teacher, and so that's my background is working with 2, 3, 4, 5 year olds. Um, and I've been doing it for 6 years now. And so I've really started to see a lot of patterns and really just get to know that particular age of childhood and like all the milestones and development that goes along with it. And something I've really started noticing is kind of this just noticing parents and feeling like they love their children so much and they care about them and they want the best for them. But I can also see that sometimes they're just lost in the craziness of life,
Mm.
and it seems like they're missing out on that those kind of magic moments of childhood because there's just so much happening. And like you said, those generational patterns are just really ingrained in you and start repeating yourself, and you almost don't realize that it's even happening or really know how to change it until you really stop and try to do the work. And so I was looking for something like, how do I help parents really like enjoy this time with their children because it's so quick. They grow so fast, especially in those early years. And I really just want to be able to support parents to like slow down and be able to do that. And then for me, also going through the parent coaching program, I was able to apply all that information in my teaching. And I really came into it feeling pretty confident about the way I was teaching and the way I would relate to my students. But as I was going through this, I learned so much more. Like
Mhm.
I was kind of on the right track, but there was just so much more to it that I never would have known without doing this. And just to see how much better relationships I've been able to form with my students and just the level of like mutual respect, the community, the like class bonding we've been able to create is just absolutely magical.
I love to hear that. And that's actually one of the things that really pointed me to you when it came to collaborating and having a conversation like this, because I think that we bring two different points of view in, within the parenting coaching is and then you see that part that maybe parents we miss, which is like the other half of our kids. You see them at school, and I think I was mentioning to you last time that we were talking that you are able to see the overflow of what's
Mm,
actually like like a mirror of what's going on at home. You can probably tell by the way they respond to like stressing
mm-hmm.
situations, the way they collaborate with other peers, etc. How the parenting really really gets represented at school by the kids. You can see it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that really isn't acknowledged very much in the way our traditional school systems are set up. There's really not time for teachers and parents to collaborate a lot or have those deep discussions or deep relationships where like we can really talk about, how these things are happening and how, what's at home is affecting what's happening at school and also vice versa. And I think it's just so important and it really gets overlooked. And, I think parent coaching could be one of the solutions to really start getting those things going. And, one of my goals is to not only be able to parent coach, but to also be able to train teachers with the same, with the same program, so that there can really be more of a cohesive approach within a
Mhm.
community, if that makes sense.
Yes, like it takes a tribe. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. And I love that. And when we talk about tribe, to me, I think about a group of people that are coming, like you mentioned, in community, with one goal, what's something in mind to make their lives better as a whole. And one of the things that I feel that helps a lot with that sense of community is what we wanted to talk about today, which is the
Mm-hmm.
very popular term by now of holding space.
Holding
And
space.
holding space, and I remember the first time, I kept hearing it online, holding space this, holding space that. And the first time that I saw it in our class workbook, I was there and I remember marking it, like, and I put a question mark by it because I was so confused by the concept. How do I hold space for somebody? I think the phrase, it gets thrown out there, but nobody actually tells us how do we hold space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard that you had a similar experience than me, and I remember um, putting my hand up in class and asking the instructor, like, what is holding space?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a term that's thrown around a lot. And I think we can kind of have this like idea of what it means in our heads of like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
holding space. Yeah, sure, you just hold space for someone, but to actually like feel what that feels like, what it feels like to hold space for someone else, and what it feels like to have someone hold space for you is a totally different level of understanding. And it really sits in the body and not in the head.
Oh, I love that you said that. Yes, it definitely. And we're gonna talk about oh, I'm sorry, my computer just went back. Okay. And yes, and then we are going to talk about it a little bit more later of, the ways that holding space shows up, but I love that you said that. Yes, it sits in the body. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about what's going on here. It definitely sits on the body. And I want to share, I found a definition which I thought, from all the definitions that are out there, this is the one that I thought that it encompassed, more or less what it is. And it says holding space is the act of being fully present with someone as they navigate their emotions, thoughts, or challenges. It means creating an environment of safety, empathy, and acceptance where the individual feels supported without fear of judgment, interruption, or pressure to fix the situation. Holding space is not about taking control, but about offering a calm, grounded presence that allows the other person to process in their own time and way.
Mm. I think that's a really great definition of holding space. And again, you might be hearing this and thinking, yeah, that sounds great, but what do you mean?
Right? What do you mean?
What does it mean?
Definitely. I like the first part, for example, is like, and this one comes with what you mentioned about it's in the body, which says it's the act of being fully present with someone as they navigate their emotions, thoughts, or challenges. Like if we go from there,
Yeah,
fully
yeah.
present.
And I think fully present, I think present, that's another word, right? It's another like buzzword right now that's really thrown around. And to me, to be present, it also ties in with the other part of the definition of not trying to fix things. Because I think a lot of times if someone comes to us with a problem, we want to be like, oh, well, we can fix it. We could do this. We could do that. Or, oh, it's not really that bad because, this other awful thing is happening. So it's not that bad. It's fine. It's fine. And that's not being present because now we're focused on another moment, right? We're focused on like taking action, or we're focused on something that's already happened in the past that we're comparing this thing to. And so to be present is just to be in this moment. We're not worrying about what's going to happen with this problem in the future. We're not worrying about like what could we have done in the past to prevent it. We're not comparing it to something else. Like we're really just here. And I think we really can't talk about holding space and being present without talking about our own reaction to emotions.
Yes, because in that moment that we're trying to be fully present for that person, it's like they're borrowing our calm for the
Mm-hmm.
moment. We are that stabilizing energy and force in that moment for them to be able to authentically and fully express what they're feeling.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot from the person who's holding set space, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't take things personally. For example, when they're saying things, that's not the moment for you to be thinking about if they're right, if they're wrong, or how this affects you in the moment. It's more about of, I am here, I am safe, I'm good, and I can extend my hand to you so you can feel my calm too. And you
Yeah.
can borrow it at this moment.
Yeah. And it's definitely a practice that you have to build and build on. It's not something that like you can wake up and be like, oh, well, I heard this cool conversation about what holding space is, and now I'm going to go hold space for everyone. It's not going to happen just like that. I think there was so much inner work that we got to do as we were going through the parent coaching program with our own experiences, our own things from childhood, and really figuring out like what things kind of trigger me in a way of triggering a lot of high emotions and intense emotions, and like why do they make me feel this way? Like why am I getting such an intense reaction to my husband raising his voice? Like why is that
Hmm.
so triggering to me? Or whatever it is, right? Or my child having a meltdown,
Hmm.
why is that so triggering? Like, why can't I handle that? And really not figuring that out in the moment when your child is having a tantrum, because that's not going to work.
No.
But taking a step back when you do have a calm moment and being like, huh, what's happening here? And being able to slowly unpack that and really go through the layers, which is where having a coach can really come in handy, because that's something that's really hard to do on your own.
Hmm.
When you have someone to kind of reflect back to you and ask you some questions that can just keep you moving and going through the process, you can really kind of figure out, okay, here's why I feel this way about these things. Here's why these emotions are coming up. And maybe I can start to process it, start to resolve it.
Hmm. I love that you said that, because in that moment when we're trying, I think when we talk in Jai, we talk about harbor. This is our harbor, and then we open it, and all of this concepts. But to me, in reality, is that in in that moment that you are trying to hold space for the person, it's about you being so safe in yourself that you know that no matter the storm that this person is coming, it's having, everything is gonna be okay, and you can assure that. So you have
Yeah.
to have like this safety in yourself of,
Mm-hmm.
everything is okay, everything is good. And I like that you mentioned, within parenting, you mentioned my kid is having a tantrum, right? That we talked about it, because in that moment, something, usually we react, and it
Yeah.
could be a million reasons why we're having this reaction. We could feel shame depending on where we are and what they're doing. And it's about, I'm here trying to make dinner, and this kid is crying because the cup is not the right color, and it's, so many things. But underneath all of that are needs that
Mm-hmm.
we are not getting met. Like, I might have to need for some calm in the house, and then
Yeah.
this is disturbing it. So it is very important that, when we are trying to be the person that holds space for somebody else, to know that first we need to hold that space for you, for
Yeah.
yourself. You need to be able to have the rise and fall of all of those emotions within you, and know that you're safe, and develop, like you mentioned, develop that security in self for you to be
Mm-hmm.
able to borrow it to anybody else.
Yeah.
And And that's the part where the parenting coaching comes, because usually we wanna go and fix behaviors. We want to fix the tantrum,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't realize that in reality what we need to work on is having that safety inside of us to ride the wave of the tantrum,
Yeah.
and then eventually they'll go away. It's
Yeah.
like, and then eventually they go away. But in the moment, we want to fix this
Mm-hmm.
behavior, and that's where this space comes. Like the what we read, the definition said, we're not trying to fix anything. This is not the moment for us to be, fixating on this needs to stop. It's the
Yeah.
moment for us to find the calm within,
Yeah.
and then let's
And it
see.
and it doesn't mean that we can never fix something, right? Like there's
Hmm.
a time and a place to go into fixing mode and go into action mode, but we like to get there just way too fast.
Yeah.
So we want to hold space first. And
Hmm.
then when the time is right, like then we can go into fixing mode. But we have to hold space first. And like you said, it's so important that you do the work in yourself first and with yourself so that you can hold space for yourself. Um, and I think that's kind of really getting mindful about, okay, when I have these strong reactions, what do I do? Is my
Hmm.
instinct, am I trying to immediately fix? Am I, or immediately trying to like hide from my emotions? Am I like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious. Let me go get a chocolate bar because that'll make me feel better. Right. Or
Hmm.
am I able to like sit with that anxiety and be like, where's this coming from? I get a little curious, like what's happening here? And know that I'm safe, even though I'm anxious, even though it's unpleasant. I don't love this feeling. I know it's not going to last forever. And I know it has a message to tell me. And so I can sit with it. I can breathe through it and I can just listen to it.
Hmm. Yes, the safety of we can ride the wave of the
Yeah.
emotions. I love that how you explain it. And in this sense that we're talking, about, and all of these emotions come in, and the person we're holding space, I would like to go to this other part of the definition where it says, um holding space. I'm gonna say, it says here, Anna. Okay, that where the individual feels supported without fear or of judgment, interruption, and we talked about, or the pressure to fix the situation. But I want to dig a little deeper in where the individual feels supported without fear of judgment or interruption.
Mm.
How do I do that? Have you heard the new TikTok thing that we listen but we don't judge?
Mm-hmm.
How do I listen and not and not judge, right?
It's so hard, so hard. And I think that judging comes from, is kind of linked to that feeling of like, I want to fix, I want to make it better. So when we can detach ourselves from like needing to be the problem solver or the rescuer, the superhero, I think that can help us to get away from the judgments. And it's also, again, remembering like this is a practice, and it's not that you're never going to judge anyone ever again, but you're kind of telling your brain and telling yourself like, okay, we don't need to judge right now. Like everything's okay, we're safe, and I just don't need to judge right now.
Hmm.
Just not right now. Like let's just give it a break and see
Yeah.
what happens.
I like something that you mentioned earlier that helps me with the part of judgment is, I try to not interject my opinion, meaning, like, we all see things through our glasses. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to remove my glasses and then get curious about how is this person seeing this situation, because to me, for me to be able to not judge the person, because the judgment comes from my expectations, what I think that person should have done. It's my opinions. The judgment
Mm-hmm.
comes from me. And then when I talk to the person, I try to be, okay, so let's get curious. Why is this why is this bothering you so much, right? Like when is this, for example, my daughter, and she's having, because teenagers do have tantrums, same as adults, she's having a difficult moment. Instead of me trying to be like, but why, she has it so easy. When I was her age, I didn't have this or this or that, or we had it this way. I try to be, but okay, so why is this bothering you? I will let her, and then I'm gonna listen. That's where I'm gonna do that active listening, which is such an amazing tool to be
Mm-hmm.
present. Like we mentioned earlier, it's very important to be present, and also to remove judgment. When we
Yeah.
listen to really understand, then I feel like judgment doesn't come in, because in that moment we are walking on that person's shoes for a little moment.
Yeah. I really like how
Mhm.
you described it as like taking off your glasses. And you said that, and then you said, you would go to your daughter with a lot of curiosity of like, well, why does this upset you so much?
Mhm.
And what's really interesting to me is that, well, if your glasses were still on, you could say that, ask that same question, but filled with judgment.
Mhm.
Why does that upset you so much? Yeah, because when I was your age, it was blah 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 blah. But you take the glasses off, and it's, oh, why is this bothering you so much? I really want to understand. And so it's literally the same words, but it's coming from a different place inside of
Oh,
you, and it just
yes.
makes all the difference.
All the difference. And I love how you said it and how you express it, because your whole body language changed.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned earlier, is so much about the body and not the words
Yeah.
or the thought. When I first started this, we were reading all of these great books, one of them, The Nonviolent Communication, and I felt, I'm a nerd, so I feel like super confident. Okay, so it's 4 steps. First I say this, and then they say this, and then this is gonna go perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I will come to her trying, with my little nonviolent communication formula, she will be like, why are you talking like this? Like, she will tell me, why do you sound like that? And she even told me, you sound so condescending. Why do
Mm.
you have that condescending tone? I was not understanding, because to me, I was saying everything by the book, like, this must be.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized that it has to do a lot also with not only like having the knowledge, but embodying the knowledge. And it's not the
Yeah.
same to say, yes, I'm calm, I'm not mad, then be like, yeah, no, I'm good, I'm calm. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's because if you don't feel it in your body, they see it. They're
Yeah.
gonna know the difference. They can see and hear that judgment from a mile away. From a mile away.
Yeah. So can I ask, when you are like in the zone of holding space, what does it feel like in your body?
Now I have to say that it's kind of like out of body experience in a sense, because I'm able to sit and listen. And I have ADHD. So my body is usually in the higher levels of dysregulation, like I'm going at my self beat. And in those moments that I'm practicing holding space are some moments where I feel like I'm breathing. I try to concentrate. I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening and concentrating on my breathing. Sometimes I do need to tell myself, we're safe, this is okay, we're good, like there's no
Yeah.
immediate threat, we're good. And but it's kind of like a completely weird feeling for me for a moment, because there is a calmness that I don't normally have. And I think it's because it requires me to take a pause.
Mm.
It requires me to be very aware of, am I actually listening to this person?
Yeah.
Am I half, because I you can't hold space halfway. It doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
You have to be fully there. And then it has become like this signal of, if I'm calm and all that's running through my head basically is what this person is telling me, and I'm just absorbing and listening and seeing their face, and bringing eyes of what they're saying, because you're responding with your face as well, and your body
Mm-hmm.
language. If I'm able to engage in this non-verbal communication with you, then I know I'm holding space because I feel calm. I'm not feeling that rush.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I could see that and feel that from you and your body language as you talked about it. Because as you started talking about your ADHD and how you're always this and this and kind of jumping around. And then as soon as you started talking about how it feels to hold space, you like sunk down and you slowed down.
Mhm.
And I could feel that calmness.
Yes. And that's the calmness that then it's the one that the other person receive. That is the
Yeah.
space. I think that is the space that
Yeah.
then they feel. Because then that
Yeah.
calmness that you mentioned, I sunk in, and you feel that calm, then if you can feel it, you can borrow it, kind of, right?
Yeah.
You feel the energy. That's me
Yeah.
saying, okay, I'm here for you. You can have some of my calm now.
Yeah. And then you have that space to express whatever it is that's happening with you. And
Mhm.
knowing that whatever I say to you right now, whether I'm super angry, I'm really, really sad, I'm so frustrated, whatever it is, like you're so calm and you're not gonna react to it from this like really crazy, chaotic space. Like you're
Mhm.
just here, just kind of taking it all in and just allowing me to be.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you mentioned two things that I like from what you said very much: anger and allowing me to be however I am. Because sometimes, maybe when we think about holding space, especially between adults, it can sound like a friend, like maybe you and me on a call and you're telling me about your day and I'm listening to you. But in reality, holding space goes to any, all
Mm-hmm.
emotions. The person can express anything. And with our kids, especially when we're working with kids, they feel all of their emotions very raw, very, and it's a beautiful, the reason it's beautiful is because they haven't shut them down, like there's a
Yeah.
connection between the body and the mind to process those emotions. And as we
Mm-hmm.
grow up, we learn to shut them up.
Yeah.
Which is not healthy, but we'll talk about that another day. But when we are kids, we haven't shut that down, so we feel them all.
Yeah.
And then most of them are new too, right? We haven't dealt with these emotions before, so it's
Mm-hmm.
even more intense in the way we feel them. And when you are with somebody that needs your calm and space but are in complete chaos, especially when it's anger,
Yeah.
it becomes hard for you to find your own calm. That's where it becomes, this practice and this art that you are developing, because there are going to be moments where you're going to have to stay calm for a person that's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of a person that's all over the place, I feel like we can tie this into tantrums and how
Mhm.
we can respond to a child who's like in the middle of a real tantrum,
Mhm.
a big
Mhm.
tantrum.
Since you work with the kids and teachers, if you were going to define what a tantrum is or what's happening to a kid during a tantrum, how would you explain it to a parent?
When I think of a tantrum, I'm thinking a child who is full in an emotion that we would probably label as like bad or uncomfortable. Um, there is no bad emotions; they all have their purpose, but we do label them this way. So a child who is like really sad, angry, frustrated, um, child who's just not getting what they want and they just
Mhm.
want it so bad, and it's showing as like an explosion. They might be crying, they might be screaming, they might be trying to hit you or throw things. Um, all that emotion might come out through their body, it might come out through their voice, it might come out through their actions. Like they might just try to do whatever it is that they want to do, like they're just going to do it no matter
Mhm.
what. And there's endless ways that it can show up, right? For every child, it's going to be different, and in every single situation, it might show up differently.
Mhm.
So it really depends, on the child, where they are in their development. But I think a lot of us pretty much have an idea of like what a tantrum is. We know when our child gets to that tantrum point, like you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. And really, now that we know how to hold space, we can buckle up a lot more
Mhm.
effectively. Um, you mentioned your teenager having tantrums also. Do
Oh
you want to
yes.
speak to kind of how you've been able to hold space with her in those moments, and like what that's done for her?
Oh, our biggest tantrums on in the mornings. And I mean, it's a teenage girl who wants to look good. She's in high school, freshman
Mm-hmm.
year, curly hair. And if you know something about curly hair, we have zero control over this
Mm-hmm.
situation. It's like whatever happens, whatever mood your hair is in that day, that's what you get.
Yeah.
And for a teenager, that's hard. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for me as an adult, I'm not going to let my hair being a little wacko throw me for the day. I said that with a straight face, which is not true. Because if I don't like the way my hair looks, I'm also having a bad day.
Yeah.
Right? So it was that. It
Mm-hmm.
was the hair, maybe didn't wake up on time. So now I have less time to, curl my lashes and do mascara. And all of this sounds very frivolous to an adult and to me. And she will miss the bus constantly. And then
Mm.
miss the bus, I will get mad. We will get into a fight, and then both of our days down the drain.
Yeah.
And then teenage tantrums, they actually last longer than toddler tantrums because the toddler will get distracted easily. You give them something and that's it. They're on with their day. Teenage tantrums they hold grudges. So at that point
Mm-hmm.
in the afternoon, she will come back from the house and we're in for round two. All right. The way I've been trying to take it, especially in the mornings, have been that if I was 14 in the same situation, I will be having a meltdown too. That was one of the things that maybe I was too much on my high horse of being an adult that I forgot what it was to being 14. And then also I needed to take out my stake from the whole
Mm-hmm.
situation, because my stake is that if she doesn't do her thing in the morning as she's supposed to, then she's gonna miss the bus, which means that I'm gonna have to get dressed, get in my car, drive her to school, and I'm thinking about all of these extra things that I have to do, and then she's making my life harder. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to remove those stakes from there. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not about your inconvenience. My kid is having a hard time. We're on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
This is the issue. We're on the same team. How do I get her in a mobilizing like energy? Like how do I get
Yeah.
her to be able to continue with her day? And I think that has been like key.
So
Me
it sounds like,
identifying. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It sounds like first you're really reconnecting with your empathy so that you can understand her a little bit better. And then also connecting with your own values of like, we're on the same team. Like, what's actually important here?
Hmm.
Is the important thing whether or not I need to get in my car and drive her to school? Like, what is the actual real important thing right here?
Yeah, and we were missing days of school because
Mm.
that's the other thing. Then there were some days she will miss the bus because the whole tantrum that now I can't drop you off at school because you're in full meltdown,
Yeah.
crying, all of this. Like I'm not gonna be also cruel and like what am I gonna do? Like hold her, drop her off in the school.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this point we have zero collaboration, which is another part of that we work in parenting coaching. How do you get them to collaborate with you? You're in the same
Yeah.
team. Zero collaboration. Now she still might have the issues in the mornings and stuff like that, but now we're getting to school. because
Yeah.
now I can get her to move from that energy of everything is going bad, move from the ride the wave from her
Mm-hmm.
emotions of things not going her way. Now I'm helping her, like I'm literally getting in with her in riding that wave of emotions. And then when she's ready to get to the other side, then now I can help you because now you're working with me. Okay, so do we get
Yeah.
this? Do I get this? Okay, and now we're getting out of the door. And it's yes, we have. And then same with my son, the younger one. His tantrums are different because he's probably about video games, and he takes pokemons and video games very seriously. Dying in Minecraft is the worst thing that could happen. And in the beginning I couldn't understand it until I started playing with him, and then I also will get frustrated when I will die.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And things like this. And one of the things that I hear a lot is that you're just letting them do whatever they want to do. And I know you've heard this before
Mm-hmm.
with the parenting, like this is permissive parenting. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna get from the definition of holding space and get it to what we actually do. I don't fix anything. I do not fix a thing in his problems. I don't even tell him yes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say he had to do homework and he had a really hard time for my son because he had to move from video games to doing the homework. He got his tantrum. We rode the wave. I'm here, buddy. I know I will hate to get out of my video game to do homework. Like, with this same face, like, it
Yeah.
sucks. Like, I know.
Yeah.
And we're here, and 5 minutes later, he's doing homework,
Mm-hmm.
but I was there with him when he was
Yeah.
having the issue. Same with my
Yeah.
daughter. It's not about, I'm not fixing anything. I'm not telling her, oh, you didn't have a good hair day. That's okay, girl. Stay at home. That's okay. We'll watch some Netflix, and you can, I'll write you an excuse
Mm-hmm.
for school, and everything is gonna be okay. No, I'm riding
Yeah.
away with her for her to get to where I want her to go.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really love the visual you're painting about riding the waves together. And it's like you guys are actually swimming through this together. And then it's like you get back to shore and now she's ready to go on her way and do what she needs to do. And she doesn't need you anymore. And she's able to do that because you were with her in the wave, in that like storm,
Mm-hmm.
is the reason that she's able to go do this thing, other than trying to like not go in the water at all, trying to
Mm-hmm.
force her to stay here and do this thing right now, which just doesn't work.
Yeah, and
And
talking about the anger that we mentioned with the kids, like the little ones will bite you, try to fight you. The older ones, they look at you mad, like you're trying to help them, and they have this face like, I don't even want to see you, get out of my way, type of thing, and they act mad. I will even say I had a conversation with my daughter. She was talking to her best friend, telling her about how our relationship has changed, and she was telling her, "Is that I don't understand because now." I expect her to get mad, but then she doesn't get mad, and then I get mad at her because she doesn't get mad, right? And at a point, it's like I can't take it personal that she's mad at me in that moment, because
mm-hmm.
if I do, that's where we're putting in the judgment, right? And she's
Yeah.
doing it on purpose. She's trying to get me angry. So we're putting in
Mm-hmm.
that judgment there, and then we want to fix it. Then I don't want her to be mad at me. No, let her be mad at me. Let
Yeah.
her be mad. Like,
Yeah.
we'll go in this. Okay, you're mad at me. Okay, but we're here. We're
Mm-hmm.
going.
It's the wave that she has to ride.
Hmm.
And you know that as the adult who's secure in yourself, who knows how to hold that space, you know it's just a wave. She doesn't hate you forever. She's not going to stay angry forever, but it's just a moment that she's working through. And you understand as a teenager that like her brain isn't fully developed. She doesn't have full control of her emotional
Hmm.
development, which I think is another misconception of like, oh well, teenage they're basically adults, right? Like
Hmm.
they should have it all together. No, like they're still children, they're still working this out, and they still really really need their parents to be there with them. I think in much more of a way than we realize.
Oh yes, and it's I understand when parents of teenagers, we get frustrated and sad and angry and all of those emotions because it's hard trying to keep alive and to keep alive, keep safe, keep happy a person that seems not to want to be alive, happy, or and it's this
Yeah.
constant fight of if you will only listen to me, please, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know better. But in reality, we're not here to tell them what to do. We are their guides, their parents. We are
Yeah.
parenting, we are their guides. And we have this whole generation that's looking for a voice, right? I'm talking about the
Mm-hmm.
millennials here. We have this whole generation looking for our voice and trying to express our voice, but the only way you develop a voice is that when you are little, your parents, the person that care for you, allow you to be happy, angry, frustrated, sad. They
Mm-hmm.
allowed you to go through all of those. They allow you to make those mistakes and repeat, rinse and repeat, and do it all
Yeah.
over again. And they hold that space for you because that's how you develop your authenticity and your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And we want kids
Absolutely.
with a voice, but we don't want them to practice how to get it, right? We don't give them the tools on how
Yeah.
to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't get the voice without the practice. And the practice is messy. It's chaotic. It feels crazy. But when you have all the tools and you have that security inside yourself, you can ride the wave. It's possible. It's
Yes.
possible.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And the key, I'm glad, I'm so happy that we got, to speak about this thing today because as much as it is such a popular phrase, like I was mentioning, that nobody knows what it
Mm-hmm.
actually holds the secret to
Yeah.
real connection with
Yeah.
somebody. When you are able to find your calm, be present, and be with this person in their biggest storm, at their worst moment,
Mm-hmm.
and just feel like, a grounding presence for them, while not while you tell them what to do, but while they figure out what is it that they really want to do. You get a view of both, like you're able to see them in their most raw, authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get to see you as a grounding force for them, and that's a connection that nothing can break when you are able to both. And then when you hold space for somebody, that person is going to hold space for you. It's a
Yeah.
feeling that you want to reciprocate. So I
Mm-hmm.
love the fact that it's really the secret of having connection with each other.
It absolutely is. I love how you summed it all up.
Ellie, we had a great conversation today, and I wanted to see, can you give us a little more information about your coaching practice? How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah. So I'm currently um, signing up more clients for one-on-one work, and I'm also hosting workshops at like schools or community locations in Maryland. And you can find me at elliechasecoaching.com. It's ELLIECHASE coaching. Um, and my email is the same, elliechasecoaching@gmail.com. So head to my website. You can see everything I do. And you can also schedule a curiosity call where we can kind of just talk, get to know each other. I can tell you, more about the coaching program and how it works. And, we can see if it's a fit for us to work together.
Yes, and you mentioned that you work with parents and also teachers, right? Fellow teachers.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of in the works right now, creating a teacher professional development program so that I can not only work with the parents, but also the teachers and really create that like full community like change.
Ooh, that's exciting. Okay, so we have to come back another time when that's
Mm-hmm.
ready because I want to hear more about it. That's gonna be very exciting.
Absolutely.
I need it. Let me put it here.